Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. Thanks for logging on to our latest long-range forecast update. Monday, December the 8th, 2014. We're sponsored tonight by Metal Magic in Washington. Give Chad a call, 698-8555 for all of your paintless dent repair needs, and be sure to tell them that Southern Indiana weather sent you. All right, let's start with the short term, and then we'll work our way into a little bit later in the month and sort of what you can expect. A little bit of rain earlier today. Most of that rain has pretty much worked its way off into the east. Maybe just some lingering showers to deal with tonight as we put future radar in motion here. You can see there goes that rain off to the east. Maybe just some remnants, shower activities as we head potentially here into the overnight hours. Not going to be anything big to speak of. I wouldn't even be surprised to see if we get some lingering showers here closer to the early morning hours if it doesn't try to mix in with some wet flakes of snow on the backside of this system. Nothing that should cause any traffic problems or stick or anything like that. But there would be the possibility of that. But then once we get into Tuesday, we dry out and future radar is clear as far as the eye can see. In fact, it looks like we're going to be clear for several days several days ahead here. We just step forward in time here on the Euro model. And here we are into Tuesday morning, and you can see just some lingering light green here over the area. That's indicating a little bit of some precipitation potentially there. And we are firmly in control here in the snow shower category. So if this were to verify, it would just be some flurries more than anything, but that's not a given. That's not a guarantee here that it is going to verify. Sometimes the Euro doesn't have the same resolution as the high-res NAM future radar that I showed you a while ago does. So again, I wouldn't rule out a flurry or two tomorrow, but certainly nothing that's going to be anything big to write home about. As we put that into motion, though, eventually that's all gone, and we go through the rest of the week, and we stay, well, pretty much high and dry until the weekend comes. And after the weekend is over here, we start to see this next storm system moving our way in for Monday and Tuesday. And really, rain chances look to be in the forecast Monday and Tuesday, and potentially even Wednesday of next week. The Euro, the latest run of it that I'm showing you here, sort of takes that system more to our south than in previous runs, and would eliminate by and large the rain chance here for us early next week. The GFS still keeps it in there, so what I've done is just put it at a 20% chance in the forecast for us. But by and large, it looks like a pretty much a dry spell coming up for us. And temperature-wise, a little bit below normal this week, but we are trending more towards the normal. Our historical average high today is 45 degrees, and of course, we're going to get near that. But it doesn't look like we're going to have an extreme heat wave or really an extreme cold wave coming by any means. We made it up to 46 degrees at the Huntingburg Airport today, so we were technically 1 degree above normal, but pretty much a seasonable day. Now, beyond that, what can we expect as we just want to go ahead and take a look at the extended outlook? I talked to you last week about Super Typhoon Hagaput. It is now down to a tropical storm. The thing does not look like it is going to recurve at this point. There was a huge ridge out here to its west, but that ridge broke down, and rather than being caught up into the jet stream with the changes in the atmosphere, it's actually pushing it a little bit further to the south. So rather than recurving it, it's actually going to be pushing it away from us. What kind of an effect would that have on us? Not a whole lot. Typically, the typhoon rule says 6 to 10 days after a typhoon recurves and heads back toward the Gulf of Alaska, we can expect a cool down, but the opposite of that is true. If it doesn't recurve and it plows into the mainland Asia 6 to 10 days later, then you can expect potentially a bit of a warm-up. So could it bring a little bit of a warm-up to us? Maybe, maybe not. This thing is pretty weak right now, and it doesn't really look like it's hitting mainland Asia. It looks like it's wanting to recurve even further to the south. So my thinking on this is it's not going to have much of an effect on us at all. It did have a pretty big effect on the Philippines and caused some major damage and flooding concerns there. But for us, this doesn't look like it's going to be as much of an effect as what it could have. So for you snow lovers, that's not a good thing. I know you were looking forward to that, and I really thought this thing was going to recurve, but I can try to predict the weather, but I can't control the weather, and unfortunately things just didn't work out this time. But hang in there, folks. There will be plenty more if you are a snow lover and wanting some snow. plenty more chances coming on down the line. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we can expect then over the next rest of the month or so. Just kind of give you a hint of where we are going with this. First off, let's just take a look at the good old Arctic oscillation. The Arctic oscillation index is cold air on the move. If you want cold air to be filtered down and sustained cold, even brutally cold at times, you want that to be negative. And what you can see is we are firmly into the positive, and we are trending back towards the positive according to the Euro model. According to the GFS model, pretty much the same thing. Goes to positive, then to neutral, and then back up to positive again. And this covers really through about Wednesday of next week. So no bitter cold, but no major warm-ups coming our way either, the way things look reading with this. By the way, these models have not been performing well lately. In fact, if we just go back here, see all these little bubbled lines here? Well, what these bubbled lines are essentially are different forecast models, and what different forecast models are doing with the particular oscillation here. And so this particular forecast member was saying that it was going to go firmly into the positive, and you can see no, it didn't. So if you want a model that's handling very accurately, what you see is those bubbly lines get very close or near to what you would see here. So you could see the models handled it pretty good to a certain point and then fell apart. You can see the same thing on the GFS, but ironically, the GFS is actually handling things quite a bit better here lately than what the ECMWF is. But as you can see, it's got its own fair share of the issues as well, going different directions. Blue line is analyzed. Black line is the latest run of the GFS, in the same way as what you would see here. So bottom line is I don't see any brutally air headed for us in the next couple of weeks or so out on this. Now, we take a look at the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation. You want this to be negative if you want a blocking pattern to set up. The blocking pattern shuts the North Atlantic down, slows storm systems down, lets the Arctic Oscillation have a chance to get into the negative category, funnel that cold air to the south of us and sort of stay locked in place. But it's positive according to the Euro here, and staying positive. GFS showing pretty much the same thing. So we're not seeing any signals here that would indicate a blocking pattern that's going to close down the North Atlantic. This means quick, fast-moving systems going through there. And then if we take a look at the PNA, the last one we'll take a look at here, folks, a positive PNA is a trough over us, a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a cool down potential, and you see that right here. By the way, that's what we're going to experience over the next couple of days as we don't make it out of the 30s for a high temperature, but we're not looking at extreme cold either. The Arctic Oscillation, remember, the good old Arctic Oscillation is still in the positive category. It's not in the negative, so even though we've got a firm positive PNA here, we don't have the negative Arctic Oscillation to go with it, so we'll dip down to the upper 30s, mid to upper 30s for our highs, rather than highs in the 20s or 10s, potentially even if that AO had been firmly into the negative category. So again, not a drastic cool down on the way. Now, I do see some chances for some snow potentially later in the month. It looks like right around Christmas time, the models are poising some sort of a storm system into the area. Details are foggy on this at this point, but it's something that we will trend and keep an eye on. And this would be probably a rain going to snow kind of a setup from the way the models are saying it right now. This is what the latest run of the GFS is doing for us. And this would be Wednesday. This would be Tuesday the 23rd at 7 p.m. That's what 0Z Wednesday the 24th means. Let's take back 5 hours. That's 7 p.m. On the 23rd of Wednesday. Rains don't change over line past us. Pretty much a rapidly deepening low, and you can see some light wintry precipitation starting to filter in behind that. Another run of the GFS had this more in a weaker form and more of a coastal storm over here as well. It strengthens this coastal storm and doesn't let this one strengthen as much over here, whereas one run prior to that had pretty much a mega deepening of this low. The low actually started out down here and it moved poleward because it rapidly intensified. Moving poleward means it goes more in a north-south fashion, folks, and that created a stronger potential potential snowstorm for us. This is just 3 runs from the GFS model today, and you can see 3 different solutions. All of them give us some snow. It's a question of how much at this point. So does that mean it's a guarantee? No, not at all. Keep in mind that if we're taking a look at the the 23rd or so of December, well, today's only the 8th of December, so this would be actually about 15 or 16 days away from us still from happening potentially. So bottom line is this is something we'll trend over the coming times, but it very easily could just warm up enough that it stays an all rain type of setup, or it could trend colder and give us more snow. If you believe this particular run, this would give us a few inches of snow, whereas these runs would give us more along the lines of an inch or two or less of snow. So again, the models are going to vary over time. It's just something that we're going to have to watch. But heads up, towards Christmas time, it could get a little bit rough. We'll keep an eye on it. Would it be a sustained cold after that? Again, we've looked at the indices, and I don't see the sustained cold showing up in the indices. That's not to say that it couldn't happen, but it's not showing up particularly in those indices. Now, going in further into the longer term, if we take a look at the MJO index, the Madden-Julian oscillation, I don't show this very often at all. This one is even more confusing than the others, but let me just make it simple and walk it down for you. The Madden-Julian oscillation, basically, let me get it to the right. I don't have that pulled up, but sorry. But basically, what we're looking at here is rainy phases in the Pacific and Indian Ocean area, and where these rainy phases happen at corresponds to changes in the jet stream pattern, which affect us. Well, there are warm phases and cool phases to the MGO as far as we are concerned. Phase 7, 8, 1, and 2 are fairly cold phases for us here in the November-December time frame, whereas 3, 4, 5, and 6 are warm phases. Well, let's just talk about the analysis of this. Take a look at this. The red line here beginning. MJO typically is about a 40-day pattern before it starts to repeat itself, but let's take a look at this. We started off here in November. You remember we started off a little bit warm in November, but it got cold pretty quickly. By the time the 12th or so of November came on here, bam, it hit. Anything outside of this circle is a strong MJO and can have a pretty sizable effect on us. Anything in the circle, not as much. All right. Well, notice what this happened. We went firmly, strong MJO, and we went firmly here into the phase 8 and then into phase 1 and phase 2. Well, those are very cold phases for us. Finally, by the time the end of the month came along, we were moving into phase 3, and guess what? What happened at the end of November? We had a little bit of a warm-up, and December came in like a lamb, and it's stayed outside of just a couple of days where we've, been into the upper 30s or so. We've had pretty mild weather as far as December goes. And you can see that's exactly why we're now in the warm phase of the MJO, and it is predicted to sort of stay that way for a good little while here. Here we are right now, but take a look at this, though. It's trending according to some models. This is the GFS model. This is the Euro model. And what we're seeing with the MJO is that this is trending more into a weak pattern. All right, now, but notice that it is trending into the cold phase. In fact, we're trending into a 7, then an 8, and then sort of back into a 1 and 2, and it actually wants to strengthen this thing out where it might even become a stronger MJO here outside of the circle by the time we get into the extended period of the time, which this goes all the way out until November 22nd. So that could mean by the time Christmas comes with that storm, the GFS is saying that we could have a pretty sharp cool down there with it. Euro, on the other hand, take a look at this. This goes through December 22nd as well, but as we take a look on the Euro, what you can see here is we go into the cool phases, but then we start to go into these warm phases and then strongly into the warm phases again. So right now, what you have is 2 MJO forecasts that are radically opposed to each other. So what can we say? We don't really know. In the extended period of time, right now, confidence is just not great in the modeling that it could be cold or it could be warm. It's just something that we're going to have to trend over the coming days, folks. And well, that's all that we can really say with it at this point. I wish I could tell you more. If you're a snow lover and you're saying, "Man, I really wish we could get some snow," I understand, but be patient. I will say this much. I'm not changing my winter forecast. I still think we're going to have our fair share of snow, and I still think that we're going to have a very cold January coming. But we had a very cold November. When you have a very cold month, typically you don't have another very cold month following it. Sometimes you do. Last year we did. But that was kind of an exception. Oftentimes we sort of go back and forth. The reality of it is, as you take a look at the analogs and you compare to what winters past have been, what you see is that some of the snowier winters and some of the winters that match where we are at currently in our phase as to what November did and what December did, and then looking on ahead, some of those that have had a decent amount of snow coming up into January and February had a very mild December, and some of them had a pretty cool November. Well, that fits the pattern we're in right now. So hang in there, snow lovers. January and February are coming. I think it starts off mild here, like we're seeing here in December, and then later in the month, maybe it'll start to get a little more interesting. I think by the time January and February, we're going to start to see that winter kick in into full gear. So we're still coming with it. I'm still not changing the forecast. Still think that we're going to have a pretty decently cold winter and potentially snowy winter around here. Just got off to a snow start. Just a slow start to the snow. So, you know what? Enjoy it while it is here, because, folks, it won't last forever. Go ahead and take a look at your 10-day forecast here. Go to southernindianaweather.com, sponsored by the Smile Center. Again, some isolated showers tonight. Nothing big as we near the freezing mark. Tomorrow's going to be pretty cool, only up to 36, 38 on Wednesday. And it's going to be kind of I wouldn't even say partly sunny. I might say more of a mostly cloudy day, more than anything, at least early in the day. Maybe some decreasing clouds. A few flurries, not out of the question, but not everybody would get them. It's going to be a cold couple of days. The warming trend starts up after that. And again, as I said, 45 is our normal high this time of the year, so we trend back towards the normal, and we even hit the low 50s for the weekend, potentially some rain shots next week as well, but you see we go back down into sort of a near normal and maybe even below normal pattern again. So not an extremely high above normal, not an extremely below normal, sort of some pretty seasonable weather for where we should be at this time of the year overall. All right, folks, that's it for this long-range update. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Meteorologist Michael Wilhite for Southern Indiana Weather. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.